Noah's flood, scientific and historical perspectives. Could the story of Noah's flood, an ancient historical account steeped in drama, survival, and faith, be more than just a myth? For centuries, this worldwide deluge has resonated with cultures worldwide, not just in the Bible but in ancient mythologies from Mesopotamia, Greece, India, and beyond. In this video, we'll explore the compelling geological, historical, and archaeological evidence that sheds light on this enduring mystery. Let's take a deep dive into the past to determine whether science and Bible might intersect. Let's begin by revisiting the tale that's captivated humanity for millennia, the story of Noah's flood. In the biblical account, God commands Noah to build an ark to save himself, his family, and pairs of every animal species from a world-destroying deluge. The rains pour for 40 days and 40 nights, submerging the earth until only the ark remains, eventually resting on Mount Ararat as the waters recede. But the biblical tale is repeated by countless other ancient cultures as they all share the same memory. The Epic of Gilgamesh, a Mesopotamian text that predates the Bible, tells of a great flood sent by the gods, with a hero named Utnapishtim tasked to save humanity. Hindu mythology describes the story of Manu, a righteous man warned of a catastrophic flood by Lord Vishnu, who guides him to safety in a boat. Across traditions, strikingly similar flood stories have emerged, from ancient Greece to Native American folklore. These are echoes of a shared memory of a catastrophic event among early civilizations, showing that Noah's flood was a historical event. Flood stories from around the world make us to ask the question, why are such events so prominent in our cultural narratives? And perhaps more importantly, are they not memories of the event mentioned in the Bible? Stepping into the field of geology, we find fascinating clues about the flood of Noah buried beneath the Earth's surface. Earth's history is littered with events that demonstrate the destructive and transformative power of water. Sediment layers and fossil records offer a glimpse into a world where floods larger than anything we've seen reshaped entire landscapes. A key piece of evidence comes from the Black Sea flood hypothesis. Around 5,000 years ago, it's believed rising sea levels from melting Ice Age glaciers caused salt water from the Mediterranean to breach a natural barrier, flooding the Black Sea basin with massive amounts of water. Sediment studies reveal sudden shifts in salinity and traces of freshwater ecosystems replaced by a marine environment, an intriguing hint of a catastrophic event that aligns with the flood story in the Bible. In other areas, like the Scablands of Washington state, geological formations tell similar stories. These formations, carved into the earth by sudden, cataclysmic floods, show how vast amounts of water did drastically alter the landscape in a short time. Flood-induced sediment layers, fossilized aquatic plants in unexpected areas, and even the erosion patterns on ancient riverbeds all point to the reality of the colossal historical deluge. The flood had profound effects on regional landscapes and human populations, enough to etch their memory into various stories. Shifting now from geology to archaeology, we find remarkable links between ancient stories and physical evidence for the flood. Consider the Mesopotamian region, where early civilizations like the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians thrived. Archaeologists have unearthed clay tablets inscribed with the Epic of Gilgamesh, recounting a story almost identical to Noah's flood, complete with an ark, divine warning, and a miraculous survival. But there's more. Underwater ruins found near modern nations such as India and Greece raise eyebrows. For instance, the submerged city of Dwarka, in Indian mythology linked to Lord Krishna, was uncovered off the Gujarat coast, suggesting ancient human settlements were overwhelmed by rising sea levels. Researchers have also discovered remains of settlements submerged in the Mediterranean Sea and along the coast of the Persian Gulf, regions long suspected to be affected by flooding. Artifacts like tools and pottery found buried beneath stratified layers of flood debris further paint a vivid picture. They tell stories of communities devastated by sudden water surges, forced to abandon their homes and livelihoods. Perhaps these traumatic events were passed down orally, embellished and mythologized over time into the grand stories we know today. The written records of ancient floods provide another fascinating perspective. Early civilizations, like the Mesopotamians, not only mentioned floods in their myths but also documented them on clay tablets using early forms of writing, such as cuneiform. Take the Sumerian king list, which describes a great flood that supposedly reset the world, heralding a new era of civilization. Even cultures with oral traditions offer clues. Flood stories passed down through generations, from indigenous tribes in the Americas to Aboriginal Australians, speak of waters rising and reshaping lands. If we start mapping these narratives alongside geological data, intriguing overlaps emerge. This suggests that the impact of Noah's flood remained within the human psyche worldwide. The flood of Noah, magnified through centuries of storytelling, could explain many of these parallel accounts. Regions prone to plate tectonic activity can experience shifting coastlines, opening the door for the ocean to flood inland areas. Rising temperatures and wet conditions on a warming planet could have intensified the effects. These physical phenomena align closely with the geologic evidence for events like the flood. They remind us how susceptible our world has been till God promised that there will no longer be any worldwide deluge. This journey through geological formations, archaeological digs, and ancient writings highlights the fact that the devastation of Noah's flood seeded myths that evolved into moral stories or explanations of divine justice in cultures around the world. For ancient civilizations, the flood faced by their ancestors at the time of Noah reshaped their land and their lives. In response, they immortalized these events in tales that carried lessons on survival, faith, and punishment, retold across generations. This is an amazing historical evidence for the event at the time of Noah. Modern science doesn't aim to disprove these stories, rather, it offers us tools to evaluate historical data. Geology helps us see that a catastrophic flood did take place, while archaeology shines a light on how humans were affected. As a result, we can better understand how enduring myths were born from the real incident at the time of Noah. So, is Noah's flood simply a story, or the memory of an actual event deeply ingrained in our cultural DNA? The answer is that it was a real event that left deep marks on the earth and its people. Archaeological findings hint at submerged cities and scattered relics of destroyed peoples. And through historical records, we see how humanity was forever shaped by its relationship with the universal flood. While the idea of a single, planet-wide flood looks too massive, the cultural stories we inherit from around the world, and the historical report of the flood in the Bible, remind us of something bigger. The event did take place and God did judge people, and that also universally. Atheists and rationalists love to portray Noah's flood as a myth. However, there is overwhelming geological, archaeological, and historical evidence that it was a real event. It cannot simply be wished away just because they do not believe in God. We are confident that this video was helpful to answer your question about Noah's flood. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories where science meets the Bible. Together, let's uncover the truth behind biblical history. Video authored by Dr. JohnsonCPhilip, a specialist in quantum nuclear physics, and also a senior theologian and apologist. And managed by Dr. Sunish Cherian, a specialist in sociology and also fellow theologian and apologist.